Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and today's video is part 2 of the first video that we have created, and that was creating a web server using Actix Web. So now this video will be enhancement to that previous video, and we will try to replace this in-memory data structure with our actual MySQL pool, and we will use a crate called SQLX, and we have our MySQL instance ready, a table created called users, and we will connect this database from our Rust code, and we'll try to insert the users in our table instead of this in-memory data structure. So for that you need to install few things. Let me just show you. You need a SQLX crate and .env, and .env here is because we will have to use the database URL that we are going to use for connection in .env file, because somehow SQLX crate will it doesn't allow us to use direct string on the code. It will force us to use a .env variable, so we're gonna need that .env crate. So we need to install these two, .env and SQLX crate, and make sure to update this toml file and replace the only version number with this line as well. We will be using a MySQL feature and Tokio native TLS features. So let's get started. First of all, we'll go in our main file and replace this in-memory data structure with a pool, but for now we have to initiate our .env variable so that we can use .env. So for that we'll be using .env.ok, and secondly we'll need env module of std crate. So let's connection string, and what we'll need is env from std where, and we'll read a database URL, and we have to define, so we can say that a URL should be there in .env. So now we have written our code to fetch the database URL from env. Let's create a env file over here under this .env, and let's show these files. So let's create a database URL over here. So here we have our database. Let's hide these files. Alright, now that we have fetched our connection string from env file, so we have to replace this in-memory data structure with our SQL connection. So let's do that. So we have to use MySQL pool. Now we can map an error over here. So we can use error kind other. Alright. Okay, so let's remove the unused variable first. Alright, now that we have created our pool connectivity, we have fetched our database connection string. Let's pass it across the routes and handlers. So instead of this pool.clone, we need to use data from Actix Web, and we need to use new, and inside this we need to pass this pool, that state that we want to share, and we need to pass a clone of it. All right, so yeah, I think we are ready. We have created our pool connectivity and passed that pool instance in our up to the next levels, like routes and handlers, so that we can use them. So we need to create one more thing. We need to create a folder called repository. So this folder will be used to do our database operation like insert and fetching, and we need to create a mode.rs. Let me just do that. Yeah, so mode.rs, and let's do users. Let's add that in main file as well. So we have added our repository module on our main file as well. So let's do some changes on this repository file. So let's start our implementation of adding the users to the table. So we need few things as well. So we need a data that will push. So data, it will be of type user and a SQL instance. Execute. Alright, so as you can see, I have implemented a register user endpoint over here. Now let's map it on controller. So yeah, we'll replace these things, right? So what we'll do is we'll use match users repository dot register user. We need few things over here, that is our payload, and we need and pool, and instead of this data we'll be needing pool, and this data user list will change to MySQL pool. All right, yeah, few things that I need to change is this user ID should be unsigned, right? And yeah, let's complete this thing. So it will return either okay, a response. Okay, so in case of okay, we'll just return a response, and in case of error we're gonna use an error response. And so it says there is some error about an implementation of future module from standard library. So actually we have made the function async over there, right? So we need to use await over here, and first of all let's do this. All right, we have error over here. Let's do this. So we also have an error here as well. Let's see what's the error. Okay, so it says expected user found JSON user. All right, we need to do, let's replace it with body, and let's do that and pass a reference over here. And all right, I think we have our problem solved. So let's remove this because it is unused, right? Or yeah, it is unused, so let's remove this. So as you can see, we have created a register user API endpoint, and this API endpoint is basically adding the users into the users table that we pass from the Postman. All right, so let me just quickly guide you through what I have done. On main.rs file, what we have done is we first of all created an env file, and inside that env file I have used my database URL, and let me just hide that. Okay, and I have initiated a .env module and fetch the connection string from database, initiated a MySQL pool using SQLX crate, and inside that MySQL module, and passed that pool instance just like we pass our in-memory data structure, so that it can be used across all routes, right? And the second change that we did was on controller. As you can see, on controller, the way we are pushing into the in-memory data structure, we have replaced it with the user repository function called. That user repository has our functions that will write into the database tables. All right, there is nothing we have done on controller side. We only used a match statement to match for either a record or an error. So let's test it out in Postman. Let's see how it goes. So I have this body over here, as you can see. Let me make it a post request, and I have a add user over here, and let me just start this server as well. cd document YouTube HTTP server. All right, so let's test how it goes. Okay, I have a post request, and let's do that. All right, it says user added. Now let's just, so currently as you can see there is no record in the table. If I refresh this, you can see one dark cloud. So let's test it out with another one. Let's use Darth Vader. All right, user added. Let's, so you can see there are 2 records here, right? So let's add another one. Let's name it Pinjoshi, and we call it please subscribe at yopmail.com. All right, user edit. Let's refresh this. So as you can see, there are 3 records over here, so it means that we have successfully implemented our add user request. And what we did was we replaced the in-memory data structure that we had in our previous video with the database connectivity, and we have created a table users. Now instead of inserting and managing that data in memory data structure, we have completely replaced it with the database table. So this way the data will be persisted, and you have learned how to connect database using Actix Web in Rust, right? So this is how you create database connectivity and insert records in database. So the take home assignment from here is you need to create an endpoint that will fetch all these records, so you can directly update it over here. So instead of this fetch users, we are using in-memory data structure that we have created over here. Instead of this, you can simply create another function in user repo that will use a simple query called select, right? But you need to make sure that instead of this query macro over here, you need to use query as, and instead of this execute, you need to use fetch all. Do that. It's a take home assignment for you guys. Till then, keep coding and see you on the next one.